Getting mentioned by AI is not the win. Getting chosen is. I run a marketing agency and I have been testing AI search obsessively, asking ChatGPT and Perplexity questions like who's the best at X, Y, or Z? Or what company should I look for the particular service that I'm looking for? And I keep seeing the same thing. A brand shows up in the answer and the buyer still doesn't click them or doesn't remember them, definitely doesn't trust them enough to take the next step. So today, I want to talk about what happens after AI mentions your brand, because that's where the human decision really begins. Hi, I'm Pahuna. I run La Grafia, a digital marketing agency at the intersection of AI, marketing, and psychology. In the first 4 videos in the series, I broke down the AMP framework, which is AI visibility, marketing architecture, and psychology. Up to this point, I focused mostly on the machine side. Can AI reach your site? Can it understand your content? Can it decide your brand is credible enough to include? But there's another side to this. Because once your brand appears in an answer, a real person still has to make a choice. And that choice usually happens fast. Now, here is a question that many brands right now are not asking, and I think it's a more important one. A lot of people are asking, how do I get my brand chosen by AI? Agents like ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, etc. That's a useful question and the step one to discovery. But then the next question becomes, if AI mentions me alongside 2 or 3 other options, why would someone choose me? That's the shift, because AI compresses the evaluation stage. A buyer may not look at 10 websites anymore. They may look at 2, maybe 3. So if your positioning is vague, your homepage is unclear, or your credibility is hard to see quickly, you can get mentioned and still lose. Let me walk you through actually what happens in that moment, because it's faster than most people realize. When someone clicks from an AI answer, they're usually not landing on your site in a slow, patient frame of mind. They're scanning. They're trying to figure out very quickly, am I in the right place? Do these people actually do what I need? Do they seem credible? Do they feel more relevant than the other names I just saw? They're not just judging relevance, they're judging feel. And in my experience, that compressed scan is where a lot of brands lose. So what drives that split-second decision? I keep seeing 5 things that shape it, and one of the biggest is something many brands may underestimate, which is connection. So let's start with some of the common things that help a buyer decide. Number 1, clarity. Can people understand what you do quickly? Not your philosophy, not your abstract vision statement. What do you actually do? If your site says something broad like, we help businesses grow, that may sound polished, but it doesn't help someone place you quickly. The brands that get chosen tend to be easier to understand. So that brings me to my next point, which is being specific. Being specific feels more believable. If I land on a site and it clearly tells me the category, the kind of clients it serves, and the kind of problem it solves, that usually builds more trust than broad language. So being specific reduces doubt. Number 3 is proof. Not hype, but proof. That can be real examples, case studies, original and visible expertise, a clear framework, evidence that your company has actually done the work it says it can do for you. People are not just asking who sounds smart, they're asking who feels real. So number 4 is brand connection and trust. This is more of an emotional layer. Does the brand feel relevant? Does it feel like it understands the kind of problem you're solving? Does it feel aligned with the kind of experience a consumer wants to have with your company? And design also plays a role here. Not because design has to be flashy, but because design communicates something immediately. Does the site feel clear? Does it feel current? Does it feel thoughtful? Does it convey the level of care, professionalism, or quality a consumer can expect working with your company? People make fast judgments from visuals, tone, and overall brand feel. Sometimes what they trust is not just the offer itself, it's the feeling that this company will deliver the kind of experience they want. And that brings me to my last point, which is low friction. How hard is it to understand what happens next? If your site makes me work to figure out your services, your fit, or the next step, that creates a drag. And when someone is comparing 2 or 3 options from an AI answer, that can quietly cost you the click. Sometimes the brand that wins is simply the one that is easiest to understand, easiest to trust, and easiest to act on. Now, if you're starting to realize that your brand may be visible but not compelling, that's exactly what the series is built to solve. Subscribe below because in the next video, I'm breaking down what your homepage needs so both AI systems and human buyers understand you quickly. Here is where I see kind of like the biggest gap, and I see it, I think, quite often. Brands can assume that being recommended by AI is enough. It isn't. Being recommended earns you a moment. What you do with that moment is a different challenge. Because buyers are making fast judgments about trust, relevance, clarity, confidence, and fit, often before they read very much at all. So if your brand gets surfaced, but if your site feels vague, generic, visually disconnected, or hard to navigate, the opportunity can disappear. So the big takeaway is if your brand starts appearing in AI answers more often, that is great. That's number one problem solved, which is discovery. But it's not the finish line. The real test is what happens next. Do people land on your site and immediately understand you? Do they see a strong reason enough to stay? Do they feel like you're more credible, more relevant, or more aligned than the alternatives? Because in this environment, the click is usually not won by the brand with the most words. It's usually won by the brand that removes doubt quickly and creates trust fast. And that's the human side of the psychology layer in the AMP framework or the AMP framework. In the next video, I'm going to make this practical and break down what your homepage needs so both AI systems and human buyers understand you quickly. Because if your homepage is vague, overloaded, or hard to parse, you can get mentioned and still get skipped. So be found and then be chosen.